Freeze. Is where my story begins, basically. Now it's whenever I stopped going to church. That's where I lost my virginity. That's where I was verbally abused in a relationship and gave the abuse back because I didn't always take it. That's where it all pretty much starts. That's my story. It all begins right there in that house. I grew up in church. I grew up a decently good kid. I didn't really start acting out until I turned 15. I met a guy, got a boyfriend, and that's when I started acting out. That's when I started to distance myself from God and from relationships and from people, because I was so consumed with having a boyfriend, and just, not even that I wanted to be with the person, it's just that I wanted a long-term relationship. I was just desperate for the attention that I didn't get as a child from my family. We got to know each other, and after about a year of dating is when things started to get really bad. We didn't really start fighting until we'd been dating for a while, but then we started fighting and fighting and fighting, and it got to the point that we were fighting about things, stupid things, like he wanted to do things with me and I didn't want to put out. I didn't want to be that person. And I met a guy that became one of my best friends, and I did bars for the first time with him. I got high for the first time with him. I did ecstasy for the first time with him, and several times later, and I got drunk for the first time with him. So I listened to him and I was like, okay, that's fine. I can do those things. I mean, I'm not a godly person anymore. I don't go to church. You know, God's whatever. I'm not good enough for God. I'm not gonna be good enough for God. So why would I go to church when I'm out drinking, partying, living life on the weekends? And I wasn't satisfied with that life. I was tired of feeling like I wasn't good enough to be someone that could go to church, that could be loved by God. Somewhere along the lines, I met a few friends that finally told me that I was good enough for God, because I didn't feel like I was good enough for God. Because they were going to church every Sunday, and I hadn't gone to church in 5 years. And I didn't understand. I was like, how come you know God, you pray? I was like, you seem pretty happy. Like, what makes you so happy? I was like, how come you can talk to God and I can't? And they told me, Becca, God's always been there for you. God still loves you. I hurt people because I was hurting, and I tried to offend people because it made me feel better about myself, because I knew that I was broken, and I just couldn't grasp the concept that God loves me. But I started to realize that I wanted that change. I met some really cool people at work, Steph and Stephan, that started inviting me to church. And I lied to Stephan for a while when they tried to get me to go to church, just because I didn't want to go to Bible study, because I was like, if I go to Bible study, I can't keep drinking on the weekends. Like, I'll be a hypocrite. I'm not going to be a hypocrite. So I just kept telling her I didn't want to go. And finally I started going, and they made me realize that even though I am a sinner, God still loves me and wants me and died on the cross for me. For me.